Welcome back to another edition of the AFL Europe podcast and another segment of the Irish Down Under series as we focus on the women making a good go of it over in the AFLW. Jim Brosnan joined by Mike Crane from AFL Ireland, and a very special guest this week is Orla O'Dwyer from the Brisbane Lions. Orla, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
It's second season in the AFLW. It all seems to be going really well for you at the moment. How's your experience been in year two so far?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it this year. I think even more than last year, especially going into a new kind of club, into a new sport was very daunting last year, and you just you were kind of second guessing yourself a lot of the time regarding the rules or if you made the right decision and etc. So this year has been a lot more smooth sailing. More, let's say, I have a new role as well, midfield, which I prefer getting because you get more of the ball, I find, and it's similar more to midfield back home. So yeah, I'm really loving it this year, and it's basically more or less the same group as last year, which is awesome too.
Yeah, Orla, you just touched on it there. A lot of people here, I suppose, wouldn't realise that the Brisbane Lions were grand finalists in the first two seasons of AFL Women's. Then you lost a few players when the expansion teams came in up in Queensland there, and the squad is probably a lot more settled as a group this year. So are you finding that yourselves amongst the squad that after with a second season together and game plans and structures and stuff like that, that it's a bit easier this time around?
Yeah, definitely. And I think I didn't even realise that until this year. I think last year there was 9 new players came in. So for the previous group that had been there to get 9 new players, not knowing how they play, what roles they play, or what assets they can bring to the team, would have been huge, a huge drain on top of their structure and the way they were used to play. So just adapting to that, and then obviously this year then we recruited some really good players as well, the likes of Taylor Smith and Courtney Hodder, who've been doing superb. But other than that, it's basically the same group, and looking back at it, everyone has improved since last year. So that's great to see the development of those players, and it's definitely a tight-knit group this year. And I think that's something we always touch on, sisterhood, and making sure that the team does get on really well. And I think that's evident in the games too.
Absolutely. You went over, I guess we've been speaking to a few of the Irish girls over the last 5 weeks, although some of them were rushed out in January and didn't have a lot of time to find their feet. But I guess you went over, you were the first one to go over, I believe, this year in sort of early November, I believe. How much of a benefit is that extra couple of months as compared to some of the other girls being for you?
Yeah, it definitely was a kind of bittersweet decision to decide to leave. We were obviously in the middle of championship back home with Tipperary, with both camogie and ladies football. So I had to kind of make the decision to leave that. And I had my college already deferred, and I'd already given in my notice with my work. So I was kind of ready to come to Australia. I think as well, I'm lucky to be an Aussie citizen. So I didn't have to apply for the travel exemption that all the other Irish girls had to get. So it was kind of easier for me to get back in, let's say, but I still had many flights cancelled and was kind of touch and go there for a while. I didn't know if I actually would get here, but yeah, no, I was very lucky to get out. And I kind of thought that I didn't want to be missing pre-season because I know how hard that can be. You can do all the running and gym and skills back home, but it's actually that game contact and that game sense that I think I really needed to work on. So I was cautious about coming out and getting as much pre-season in as I could. So I think I only missed 1 week in the end, and some fitness tests, so it wasn't too bad.
Yeah, Orla, and as you mentioned, of course, you were flying with Tipperary in both camogie and football. A dual player, now a triple player. Your diary was pretty chock-a-block there before you headed off. I know some of the girls are fairly accomplished camogie players as well, the likes of Ailish and Ash McInerney, but you're probably the only one that's playing at that high level for county in both. In terms of the camogie, we all know the attributes that you can carry over from ladies football and stuff. In terms of the camogie, what would you say would be some of the attributes from that game that are beneficial or useful to you in AFL Women's?
Yeah, it's definitely more obvious about the Gaelic football skills, but I think even this year I've really noticed the likes of with Camogie, when you're trying to win that ball on the ground, and everyone's body's in low and trying to get over the ball. I think that's kind of similar with the AFL as well. Like when there's a stoppage and it goes to ground and everyone's trying to rattle to get the ball out and even just tap it out. What I do at times, and that kind of spatial awareness and just being used to those bodies around you. I think I got that from the Camogie, and I think that's that comes from the Camogie, definitely.
You touched on it a bit earlier, Orla, about your sort of move into the midfield and how that's come about. I guess it's not been a flick of the switch and you've gone in there. There's been a lot of preparations gone into it with Craig Starcevich and Mike and AFL Island Women. So talk us about how you've made the transition from into the midfield. I guess it's the next step of any sort of AFL elite player is to go into the midfield at some point.
Yeah, it's actually kind of unplanned during preseason, and all the way up I was always playing half forward, the same role that I played last year, but I was playing very deep. Because Gaelic football, I'd be used to kind of going back to the defenders and going forward again, and they could see that I like to use that run. So it was actually unfortunate that our actual winger, Rianne Lugg, got injured in the practice game. So when it came to round one against Richmond, they put me in the wing position, which I found very daunting at the start. I was kind of comfortable with the forwards at the time, and I was happy there. And obviously, having that experience from last year, I was felt a lot more confident in that position. So getting thrown into the wing for that first game was a bit scary, but I'm learning to really love it now, and I'm adjusting to it a lot more. It's very similar, as I said, to the midfield back home. I find you kind of track up and down the field, get back to help the defenders, and then once we turn over the ball, get forward and be an option 2 up front. So really liking it. And as I said, getting more of the ball as well. You can find the ball easier with the setups, with the midfield. So really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, of course, we did some sessions with you last year across the summer and again in the winter before you headed out. And obviously it must have been in the back of Starce's mind somewhere, because we did some drills focused on maybe moving to a central position or a midfield position off the forwards. And as you said, circumstances came about that meant you were thrown into the wing on the first round there. But it's obviously something that probably suits your game personally in terms of your athleticism and that big left foot of yours, and to be able to sweep off the left wing. Are you enjoying the role, firstly? And then in terms of switching from the forwards groups to the mids groups, how does your week work in terms of training, and what type of areas are you focusing on as a midfield group in training?
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying the role. I like the challenge of learning it, and each week I'm learning more stuff about the wings, and it's interesting to see how different teams set up with the wings. So sometimes they drop their wings back as an extra sweeper, let's say, and other times they like to keep their wings wide. So it's just about adjusting to that. I find it difficult actually not getting caught up in it. So not being stuck on my player and following her around, but still playing your own game and making them follow you around a bit too. So that's getting used to. And with the midfields as well, I find it at the start, I found it kind of confusing with all obviously they have different stoppages and different setups for all of that. So that was kind of hard to get used to at the start, because I never really knew about that last year playing in the forwards. But they've been really helpful, and having extra time with the coaches and even the players as well, learning it. And a lot of it is kind of trial and error and just kind of going with your gut instinct, and that first decision, I think, is what helps me a lot of the time.
You're in your second season now, Orla. You've played all 13 games that have been available to the Lions since then. It's still so young in your football career, and do you feel yourself developing each week? And if you are, do you look at any other players from other clubs and watch how they play, how they run, or do you sort of just focus on what your coaches are telling you? How have you sort of improved yourself to the level that you are at now?
Yeah, I definitely as I said, finding this year, I'm finding the game a lot more easier. I feel like I'm more of an influential part of the game this year, which is what I wanted to be. I kind of feel like my teammates can trust me now, not to just play on all the time and actually mark the ball at times, which I know our Gaelic players are notorious for doing. But yeah, no, it's been really good, and I've loved learning it, and I've obviously taken on all the feedback that the coaches are giving me, and I like the way the coaches here, they just kind of let you play your natural game, so they know what athletes I like to do, and what I can bring to the game, so they kind of let me roll with that. So that's definitely helping through, and even the teammates around me, it's a great group around that's involved, so that makes it a lot easier. And different oppositions we come against throw different things at us, but it's just about adjusting to that, and kind of once you make a mistake, know that you've done it, and then just adjust to it for the next week, and if you become in that position again, how you can change it.
Well, obviously your stats week on week are very impressive, but one of the ones that's starting to stand out is your tackle count. You're really getting those tackles in across the last few rounds, more and more game on game. How are you finding that aspect of it, the more physical side of it, and laying those tackles on and getting tackled or avoiding getting tackled, I suppose, if you can as well?
Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying this. I feel last year, a lot of the time I kind of stayed at the fringes and kind of watched from the outside in. I didn't really lay much tackles or use my physicality as much. So I think this year, I think it was more in the Gold Coast game when I just made kind of my first kind of proper tackle that I actually really enjoyed it and knew that I had that physicality and I could use that more as well. I think as well I kind of still had the Gaelic football rules in my head a bit last year too. So I was kind of afraid to do something in case it wasn't right. But you quickly learn once you're on the field and you get tackled and you realize that you can do it to them too. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that part of it. And I think in AFLW, that's a big part of it too. People love when you do a tackle or a run down tackle as well. It's amazing to see when your teammates do that. So just trying to get on top of that, and I've been really enjoying the physicality of it so far.
From a team's perspective, Orla, you're going along quite nicely at the moment, third on the ladder with 3 rounds to go. But I guess it's a massive month or massive 3 weeks coming up Definitely. With games against Collingwood, North Melbourne and Melbourne. So it's almost your season boils down to this 3 weeks now, and it must be an exciting challenge to make the finals now.
Yeah, definitely. Especially after our season last year, I feel we didn't perform as well as we would have liked to, and obviously just having that defeat against Adelaide this year, and then the way we turned it around going into the Freo game was huge. You can find, because the season is so short, that if you lose a game one weekend, you don't want to fall in that hole of losing again and again. So I think that was a real special moment when we turned it around and beat Freo 2 weeks ago in Fremantle. So yeah, big challenges coming up. Collingwood are obviously top of the ladder now, being unbeaten. So that's going to be a huge game here. It's a home game, so that'll be really exciting. I'm going to try get the win there. And then North Melbourne as well, which is played in the GABA. It's on before the men's game, which is obviously huge as well. So some big games coming our way, and I think that will really test us. But I feel we are getting stronger and developing more setups, etc., about our game as we go on. So I definitely think we're in a good spot. Hopefully.
Fantastic, Orla. And as you mentioned, the big game coming up at the GABA, that's definitely one to look forward to. There's huge interest here at home, as you're aware. We were chatting earlier and you were saying some of the family will be tuning into the podcast and whatever, so that's brilliant. But obviously, TG Carr showing the game here. We're up to 2 games a weekend now with the last couple of weeks, which is phenomenal. There's a game on at lunchtime on a Saturday, or Saturday evening and lunchtime on a Sunday, and a highlight show on a Monday. It's brilliant in terms of exposure to the game. I'm sure you guys are picking up on some of that feedback out there from friends and family back home. And we have a lot of people learning the rules. They're trying to figure out what's going on when they're watching it. But it's great to see it. And obviously TG Carr, big supporters of ladies sport here at home and women's football and all that. Are you picking up on some of that feedback out there in Brisbane?
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. Every week you kind of see people tune into it more and more, and I think it's just great to see it on TG Carr and to have that exposure. I think a couple of years ago, when the likes of course Downtime came out, and then Sarah and Ashley McCarthy and Ailish that second year when they came out too, it was so hard you kind of wanted to watch the games, but it was so hard to get the exposure, and you might see some Twitter updates or if they scored a goal or how their team is doing, but to actually sit down and watch a game and try to understand the rules, I think is huge, and I think it'll help a lot of players to see if they are interested in the game and want to get involved. But it's been amazing, and I've heard nothing but praise about it. So we're all so grateful here that people can see it. So yeah, it's definitely amazing.
It's a bit more of a personal question now. I guess all the girls in Melbourne are within a stone's throw away. Their football clubs are, walking distance. You got Brit and Cora in Sydney, the 4 girls over in WA. I guess you and Ailish in Adelaide are going it alone in some regards for the Irishwomen. How have you found the transition over to Brisbane and being the only Irish girl out of the 2 Queensland teams?
Yeah, I think especially last year, it was definitely a challenge, just trying to, because you didn't know anyone either, and getting used to everything around you and living in a new area too. But no, I've met some great friends here, and I've become very close naturally with my teammates too, as they're kind of essentially my family over here. So no, I've been very lucky with them, and yeah, obviously looking at other teams, seeing the likes of the Irish girls been able to meet at times can be hard to see, but I really love this club here, and even from just visiting the other cities and going playing away games, I always love coming back to Brisbane, and I actually love the heat here, which is a strange thing to say, but yeah, no, I really love it here, and there's actually 2 Irish guys here now as well, so that's good to see them too.
And Orla, you touched on it there. Of course, we're all very jealous of the climate and everything there in Brisbane. We were supposed to head out to the Sunshine Coast with the Irish national teams for the International Cup, and a few of the countries from AFL Europe were due to go out. We've missed out on that opportunity, but hopefully that'll happen next year. In terms of your week outside of the football club, what do you do in your downtime? It obviously looks like a fantastic city. And how does your week look when you're not playing football or at the club?
Yeah, I think because my whole life is essentially here now, and I find it hard to switch off from the AFL at times. I feel like I'm constantly thinking about it. But yeah, I suppose just having a good group around you, a good group of friends to go to the beach, go for walks. Brunch is obviously very popular here, and coffee. So that's a big thing here. And just trying to get away from it and focus on something else for a while by doing, it's always outdoors activities here. It seems like no one likes to stay inside, so that's good. And I'm kind of getting used to the surroundings here as well, and knowing the area a lot better, which is making it easier this year too. So I actually work as well, kind of a couple of hours a week too, because I'm an Aussie citizen. I have that advantage. So obviously it's semi-professional, so all the girls are either working part-time or some sort of hours. So it's nice I'm in a school, so it's nice to get involved there. And another one of the girls, Talia Hickey, works there too. So we've fun there. So that's good too.
Well, for the people that are interested in potentially coming out in the future, Orla, what's that professional, I know it's semi-professional, but professional lifestyle and professional club environment, what's that been like, and your experiences in it?
Yeah, I love it. I think it's just having that 24-hour access to physios, nutritionists, doctors, strength and condition coaches has been huge. As well as I love the way they really focus on the prehab and stability, and really making sure that your bodies are right, and for the load you take in during pre-season and also in season. So they're really on top of it that way, and then just having everything given to you as well is obviously such a privilege to have. And I think it's kind of every athlete's dream to get the chance to play professionals. So definitely grateful for it. And even at times I step back and look at it and think, wow, I'm so lucky to have this opportunity. So yeah, no, it's been amazing. And all the staff and coaches are there to give you one-on-one coaching, and we have psychologists as well coming in, and it's just constant people helping you, which is phenomenal to see.
Well, you mentioned a couple of times there you're an Aussie citizen. Fill us in on that. You were born in Sydney, was it?
Yeah, so after my mum and dad got married, they came over to Sydney for a couple of years to work, essentially. So I was born in, I think, the 3rd year. They said for 4 years. So I actually got Aussie citizenship, and Irish citizenship, so that helped me so much. And when I was younger, people used to always say that will stand you when you're older, which I never understood, but I see now how it's a lot easier, just with getting bank cards and just having Medicare and all the kind of adult stuff like that. So it makes it a lot easier.
And I think certainly this year as well, with all the girls having major issues getting visa exemptions and stuff with COVID, it probably was, you still had some stress with flights being changed and stuff, but it probably made it a bit more straightforward in your case, I suppose, which was the help. So yeah, that was the benefits of having the 2 passports, I suppose. That's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And even our head coach Craig was actually stuck in Switzerland too, so the 2 of us were trying to get flights back. So yeah, it made it a lot easier. And even for the club trying to organize it too, I was very grateful to get out here when I could. And even going back as well home, I know instead of having like a deadline to get back at and structure around that visa, it's a lot easier for me. So I'm very lucky.
Just lastly, Orla, is there any sort of plans beyond the season? I guess, you got 3 weeks of regular season, then hopefully a few more weeks of finals, fingers crossed. What's your sort of movements and your plans for post-season?
I think anything last year taught us not to make much plans ahead of events. But yeah, to be honest, I don't really know. I'm just kind of taking each week as it comes and just trying to kind of just set them goals and get past the round 9 and then get into final stages and then get to final, and then we'll see from there. Don't think too much in advance. I just kind of go with the present.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that was
a
pretty
sure it's definitely game on game.
Yeah, it has to be here. It's such a short season. All you can do is just focus on the next one.
Well, Orla, it's definitely zipping by. It's hard to believe we're up around 6 already. A few more weeks we'll be into finals. You're doing amazing. There's huge support from you here at home, from Tipperary and across the whole country. And we're looking forward to watching you across the next 6 weeks, hopefully, and see you go all the way to finals there with the Lions. And well done on a great season so far. And thanks a million for coming on to chat.
Great. Thanks so much for having me. And again, thanks for all the support at home and all the exposure. It's been great. I know people really appreciate it. And us girls here too appreciate it too. So it's been amazing. And thanks so much.